I want to discuss what I went through, what my family went through, and what the people of Bosnia and Herzegovina went through during the course of the Bosnian genocide. I'm Bosnian, you know. And I also want to share my support for the people of Ukraine as they're suffering through unimaginable pain right now, horror, you know, trauma, because of the idiocy and evil of Putin. It's just terrible. It's absolutely terrible that this sort of evil goes on, and no, you know, he doesn't get punished for it, you know. And it's always been the case like that. Anytime there's a war, innocent people suffer, and world leaders, if you want to call them leaders, I think that's insulting to the word leaders, but I said word, not world, like world leaders, they do not deserve the title leader, okay? Because, you know, people suffer, innocent people suffer, and they get land, they get money, they get power, and they don't get punished. They just walk all over innocent people. Just like I suffered, just like my family suffered, just like so many countries and people have suffered because they're caught in the line of fire. You know? And because your life has absolutely no value when you're in a war zone. And I can attest to that. I was in a war zone. Nobody gives a damn, really. You know, like if a grenade hits you, if a bullet hits you, deal with it, right? And if you survive, you survive. And if you don't, well, that's your problem. The article I wrote is called Fuck You, Aaron Sorkin. I hope you listen to this and get some insight. What are you doing? Checking in to see how it's going in Bosnia. Bosnia, they don't have roads, but they have Facebook. That is how Aaron Sorkin, the writer behind the 2000 film, The Social Network, chose to present and degrade Bosnia and Herzegovina, a multi-ethnic country that suffered through the most devastating conflict in Europe since World War II, to an international audience. Over 100,000 people were killed in Bosnia and Herzegovina during the war. Over 2.2 million people became refugees. Around 50,000 Bosniak women were raped. Yeah. My mom was almost raped. Some of her friends were raped. Nobody cares. Just nobody cares. And yeah, had it not been for a woman named Nusreta Sivac, who she was raped, and she spoke up. You know, she bravely spoke up. You know, can you imagine being raped in a war zone, as like where nobody cares? And she decided to go like really like a lot further in her attempts at justice, not only for the women of Bosnia, but on a global level. And she helped to spearhead the policy of making war in the context of rape in the context of war an international war crime. Can you imagine her courage? Like, seriously, so why, I just want to ask, why is it that rape in the context of war was not considered an international war crime until Nusreta Sivac? Why? It's staggeringly idiotic and evil. I had family members who are horribly wounded. They laid in the beds of hospitals that were constantly bombed. They saw charred bodies burned to a crisp. These charred bodies were human beings who were completely motionless but still alive. My father had a grenade fall in the room right next to where he was asleep. If he had gotten up and walked into the other room, he would have been killed within an instant. He was also shot in his ankle by a sniper. This means that he escaped death 2 times. Yeah, imagine being in a situation like that. Many Bosnians got diabetes and cancer because of stress from the war. Generational trauma has infiltrated the culture. The economy was completely obliterated for 4 straight years. The infrastructure was reduced to shreds because of heavy shelling and buildings being lit on fire. Serbian Chetniks stole jewelry, money, cars, clothing, and anything else they could obtain from Bosnian families. To this day, Bosnians have their patents stolen by some European countries. Bosnians experienced educational and professional discrimination. They weren't part of the dominant social groups in the area in which they lived. They didn't receive the grades they deserved because of school politics. They were rejected from their desired occupations because of bigotry and xenophobia. They even had to change their names in order to survive in the region in which they lived. Bosniaks were forced to work in manual labor because of Islamophobia. And they died because of work-related accidents and a lack of professional ethics from companies they worked for. To put it bluntly, they were considered worthless by companies who are xenophobic and Islamophobic. When I was a university student, I thought that maybe I should not get a college degree. I shouldn't go to school, and I'll tell you why. I just thought it's worthless to even go to school. My parents couldn't get their rightful jobs in the US. I assumed that due to the intensity of hostility I received in the school system, it was pointless for me to try to fight for an education that no one would value, simply because of my name and my place of birth. It's like, motivation gets cut down drastically when you're consistently told that you should know your place. Do you know what I mean? You should know your place. So you're just like, well, what is the point of even going to school? Why go to school when you're not going to get your rightful job anyways? I clearly made the wrong assumption in believing that Aaron Sorkin would have the intellect, dignity, and vision to respectfully present a country that experienced so much hatred, discrimination, and pain. Bosnians suffer not only to the Bosnian genocide. Bosnia goes through a genocide every 50 years because of unrelenting Serbian and Croatian nationalism. The United Nations and NATO backstabbed us. So did France, the United Kingdom, and many Orthodox, Christian, and Catholic countries. If I stop, just know that I'm trying to regroup, Instead of providing information on the heroism of Izet Nanic, Dragan Vikic, Nusreta Sivac, Bakira Hasecic, Meliha Vereshanovic, and a host of other amazing people, Aaron Sorkin chose to be a cruel idiot. The Serbian Chetniks are the equivalent of the KKK and the Nazis. Aaron Sorkin is Jewish. I made the assumption, I thought that he would understand the suffering of other groups of people due to the historical suffering of his own people. Because the Jews suffered a lot. They went through hell. They really did. Many times over. So he chose to take a sharp jab at an oppressed and marginalized group of people. Who the hell does he think he is? How dare Aaron Sorkin spit upon the people of Bosnia and Herzegovina? Would he do the same thing to the Ukrainians? Would he make a film degrading Ukraine in some way? The innocent people of Ukraine are going through hell right now. Russian forces have repeatedly and recently attacked 5 train stations. Given Sorkin's track record for degrading the infrastructure of countries that experience war, I have to say I'm expecting that Sorkin is going to give Ukraine the same treatment as he did Bosnia. Because there's an upcoming sequel of The Social Network, So if Sorkin makes hateful remarks towards Ukraine in the sequel, his movie should be boycotted, including the first film in 2010. He deserves to get a firm slap across the face if he mentions that Ukraine does not have money to defend itself or that its government is weak in any way. I really hope that Hollywood starts to take morality seriously. Remember Harvey Weinstein? I wrote this article on Medium, and I just felt the need to be very public about it, because can you imagine people in Ukraine right now, what they're going through, and because of Russia, because of Putin, and they're dying, right? Can you imagine some bastard making a film where he's degrading Ukraine's roads just like he did for Bosnia? That is filth on a whole nother level. It needs to be discussed, and he needs to get punished for what he's doing. And not just Aaron Sorkin. I'm just talking about anybody that degrades a war-torn country needs to shut the fuck up. Because innocent people are suffering and dying and getting tortured and killed, while somebody is just sitting in an armchair and being like, all right, well, who am I going to degrade today? Fuck you. Fuck you. Thanks for listening.